I'm sorry, Annalise, but I am voting you so that we can keep our 5 strong.
Hello everyone, Bandit here, and welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of my series where I talk about Survivor Australia's most ingenious moves. There were 5 covered in the last video, and likewise 5 will be covered in this video. As always, if I missed any, feel free to comment them down below. But anyway, let's just jump into the video. At number 1, we have Andy's Beyond the Grave targeting in Champions vs Contenders 2. To give context, for Andy being the merge boot, on his swap tribe he was playing the middle too blatantly with the old contenders and also David plus Luke. With him voting against Daisy and obviously trying to throw the immunity challenge to eliminate David, it's no wonder he was unanimously eliminated at the final 12. Much like every contender, except Baden at the final 3, Andy wanted a contender to win the game. Because of this, when his torch is snuffed, he apologises to Daisy for voting her and then drops a bomb.
Days I may have cast a vote or two for you. And Dave has an idol. Cheers, guys.
Yep, he announces to everyone as he's leaving that David had an idol. What's funny is that Andy had no idea David had an idol, but what's even funnier is David actually did have an idol. Then 2 tribals later, David was targeted and eliminated because of this idol threat. I've seen individuals like Idled Out shouting out Victoria for her Beyond the Grave targeting of Gavin in Edge of Extinction, but Andy's is far more successful. In Edge of Extinction, Victoria says she's voting for Gavin to win to make the others target him and thus force Gavin to start playing the game. This doesn't really work. Andy's works beautifully, and although it isn't a move that helps him because he's out of the game, it benefits his allies immensely. Communication after being eliminated technically isn't allowed, but as we discussed with Moana last video, as long as the rule break isn't too intense, the producers don't mind. Evidently they enjoyed Andy's move, as 3 seasons later he returned for season 7 Blood vs Water, so overall not too shabby. At number 2 I have Ziggy's yelling on the revote. At this final 17 tribal, a special twist happened where after Tara was voted out, the tribe had to immediately vote out another person. As you may expect, this caused some confusion for the players, as they couldn't confer with each other whether they wanted to vote out Annalise or Lockie, the 2 in the minority. After Annalise and Lockie vote, Ziggy is the next one up and delivers perhaps the most iconic voting confessional in Australian Survivor.
I'm sorry, Annalise, but I am voting you so that we can keep our 5 strong.
Now, shouting who you're voting for at Tribal isn't anything new. It's been done before, even in the 2016 edition of Australian Survivor. However, these instances come out of malice rather than Ziggy, who puts a strategic spin on it. After her yelling, the majority of her alliance follow suit by calling out Annalise's name, also reaffirming who they're voting for. With it essentially being a revote, there is basically no idol threat, so letting Annalise know she's being booted isn't a bad thing. When I look at this move, I see so many occasions where it could be used on a revote, like Zeke's alliance calling out they're still all voting for Hannah, making Jessica more likely to flip. This move from Ziggy was fantastic, but we're sticking with her coming into the next ingenious move. At number 3, we have Ziggy completely extinguishing all doubt about having an advantage by admitting she had an advantage. bear with me, this one needs some context. Due to Australian Survivor's structure, non-elimination episodes are needed. This was one of them, and so instead of voting for someone to eliminate, the Samatoi 2.0 tribe were voting to send someone to Exile Beach, where the ultimate reward was at stake. Thanks to being good at all forms of challenges, as well as being within the majority, Ziggy is selected by her tribe. On Exile, she finds an overpowered dual advantage, with one half being an idol, and the other half being an idol nullifier. Faraway places like these exist in many forms like Ghost Island, Island of the Idols, and even suspicious events in the game. When people come back from these, they're often faced with questioning. While you can account for questions asked, you're only one person, and in the case of Ziggy, she was returning to a tribe of 7 people. They're going to think up questions you won't have. An interesting metric I observe with these people is that unplanned questions lead to unplanned responses, which raise the suspicion level of those involved. Watch this clip as an example from David in Blood vs. Water, the season currently airing.
So what else was on offer?
Yeah.
Well, if it was there, I haven't got it, because, and I reckon so. I he's tricky. He's bloody tricky.
I don't believe his full story. He might have an advantage or a clue. I think he does.
When Ziggy returns to camp, one of the first questions she's asked is how she got on, to which she straight up admits she found an advantage. However, what she does is state there is a twist, that the advantage she has is a secret, and if she says what it does, it becomes null and void. After this, in fear of nullifying the advantage, literally everyone stops questioning her. It's genius. Now mind you, it helps Ziggy was well insulated within the majority, but it's still a believable lie, as Australian Survivor is known for its wacky twists. Hell, 3 episodes ago they voted out Tara and Annalise, only for them to end up on the opposite tribe. This advantage is left as a mystery, meaning Ziggy can abuse the paranoia. You can't vote her out because it could be a super idol, you can't split the vote because it could be an extra vote, and you can't try to trick her into burning it because the advantage could be something that benefits the tribe as a whole. In short, Ziggy completely aces the interrogation by her tribe by tackling the issue head on rather than trying to skirt around the issue like pretty much everyone else. At number 4, we have Brains versus Brawn. Even though this is the last season in the reboot I have covered, it still has several ingenious moves I hope to cover. The first of which comes from Simon and his dirty plays during the basketball challenge in episode 4. This challenge was honestly a pretty cool reward challenge, with 2 members of each tribe tied together, having to crawl under obstacles, pick up a ball, and then throw it into a basketball net. On the outset, this challenge was pretty neutral, as the shooting and speed aspects didn't majorly favour a brain or brawn. During the first round, when Hayley is about to shoot, Simon enters her half of the zone and swats the ball out of her hands.
Simon's not afraid to play a little dirty.
This wasn't stated in Jonathan's introduction to the challenge, however. After Simon's move, JLP identifies what he did was well within the rules, albeit scummy. What Simon does here is turns an inherently neutral challenge into one that favours his tribe, the Bronze, by turning it into more or less a scrap. This continues into later rounds, with Laura even being put into some headlock when attempting to throw. But again, I cannot understate how much these antics help a tribe all about physicality. Simon even knocks the ball out of Baden's hands when he is fumbling with it. Simon won both rounds for his tribe and scored the game-winning shot, securing the Brawn tribe comfort and a protein-packed breakfast. All of this is summarised by Mitch after the challenge, telling his tribe,
But guys, this is why you just play dirty until you were told to stop.
Challenge hacks are used in multiple forms throughout Survivor, even in Australian Survivor. Lockie broke the net portion of the challenge by telling his tribe to roll, as well as the stepping pole challenge, where everyone just sits and is transported across instead. Although on this occasion, Asunga copied them. Dirty challenge plays do feel, however, like Lockie getting disqualified after shoving Lee a few too many times in the All-Star Swimming Challenge, but what Simon does is pretty genius and is one of the best ways I've seen someone abuse a challenge. From challenge dominance to perceived weakness, at number 5 we have David in Survivor All-Stars. This featured in the second iteration of the Final 9. To give much needed context, Survivor Australia needed more non-elimination episodes, and so designed an exile tournament for 6 players. This was announced at the Final 9 Tribal Council, as well as the fact that the top 3 vote-getters would have to compete in this tournament for immunity. Because of this, AK, Brooke and Moana were sent to exile. 6 players remained, but the twist remained coming into the next Tribal. 3 more people had to go to exile. Shawnee was in the minority, and so was an easy first pick. Zach assumed going to exile would be good for his resume, and thus wanted to go. On the other end of the spectrum, Sharon won the immunity challenge, making her unable to receive votes. Tarzan was well insulated within the majority, and wasn't the best at challenges, so he was pretty much safe too. This left Jackie and David. Neither wanted to go, as if you didn't win a challenge, then only you and 2 others could be voted out. 2 tribals ago, David was very sick, although he seemed to have made a recovery by the time of this episode. However, the ingenious move David pulls off is that he pretends he's still very poorly with the cold. In conversations with Sharon and even at Tribal, David continuously coughs, thus showing to Sharon that if she sent him to exile, she was improving the minority's odds of winning a challenge in AK, Brooke and Shawnee. This plan goes off successfully, with Shawnee and Jackie both receiving 2 votes, and Zach is picked over David on the revote.
Zach, Jackie, Shawnee, grab your torches, head on out to exile.
David stays in the game, making him guaranteed at the 3rd iteration of the Final 9, and completely avoids the exile tournament. What's even more impressive is these individuals literally just saw David play on Survivor the year prior. They knew he was a massive challenge threat that could beat the likes of Sean in the immunity challenge, and was capable of lying about anything and everything. Despite this, he masterfully pacifies them. Challenge throws are more so associated with pre-merge, as individuals may want to throw a challenge to get out a big threat. However, individually, there have been a few attempts by a player to come off weaker than they are to avoid an outcome. Examples include Coach pretending his asthma was flaring up to avoid exile. Spencer also has revealed in extra scenes in Cagayan to go on water strikes for several hours to purposefully weaken himself. Both ultimately fail, however, his coach goes to exile and Spencer doesn't win the game. David not only avoids exile, but also goes on to win the game, and this move was integral to his victory in All-Stars. Those were 5 ingenious moves outlined in this video by yours truly. I hate to be that guy, but almost 90% of you that watched the last video weren't subscribed to the channel, and it would make my day to see more people subscribing to the channel, so if you haven't already, please consider doing so. Make sure to comment down below feedback on the video and other ingenious moves that I missed in this video and the last. I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you all for watching, and as always, peace!